Baton Rouge 9 years ago to lead economic development efforts for this region, I came home with a great deal of hope and conviction. The business community was ready to embrace a new, more prosperous future for the capital region, and I was determined that together we would find smart, creative ways to reposition our region and maybe even our state. Many of you in this room were part of that effort. You gave your time, your ideas, and even your funding it took to put the Baton Rouge area on the economic development map in a major way. It was an exciting time, a bold moment. We even called it a revolution. Today, I'm going to talk about what's possible for the future of Louisiana. I'm going to share what we could accomplish together if we could dream big enough and work hard enough to get there. The last 6 years, we've outperformed the South and the country during a deep national economic downturn. Today, let's imagine where we could go in the future if we could continue our recent momentum when the nation is growing again. First, let's talk about where we've been the last 6 years. Before Governor Bobby Jindal took office 6 years ago, our state regularly ranked among the bottom 10 states in America for its business climate. Since then, we've become the most improved state for business in America, and we now place higher in every national business climate ranking than we ever did prior to 2008. In some cases, we've actually moved up dozens of spots, as you can see here, and we now rank among the top 10 states for business in 3 major national business climate rankings. Additionally, our Fast Start program, which we created for the first time in 2008, has been ranked #1 in the country for the last 4 years in a row. Thanks in part to our state's improved business image and our aggressive business development efforts, we've dramatically outperformed the South and the U.S. in private sector job creation since January 2008. Imagine for a moment where we would be today if we looked like most of the rest of the South. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, while most other states haven't yet regained their pre-recession job levels, we've actually added almost 50,000 private sector jobs since January 2008. Most southern states aren't even back to break even. As a result, the U.S. Census recently reported that our population growth over the last 6 years was about 15% faster than the U.S. overall, and we just experienced our 6th year in a row of net population in migration. More people moving into Louisiana than moving out of Louisiana. But the good news is the next few years are going to be even better, because we've secured projects that collectively are resulting in more than 83,000 new jobs. Some of the biggest projects we've announced haven't even broken ground yet, and we're on the hunt for tens of billions more in new capital investment. Now, we're going to try something a little different this year. Audience participation, daily report style. You all have your polling devices, so it's pop quiz time. We're going to have a few questions today. First question is, which state announced $48 billion in capital investment over the last 3 years? Was it A, Alabama, B, Georgia, C, Louisiana, or D, Texas? All right, it looks like most people picked C. Well, if you answered C, you either learned that standardized test trick to always pick C, or you assume because I'm the LED secretary, the answer had to be Louisiana, but you're wrong. The answer is D, Texas. Texas announced $48 billion in capital investment over the last 3 years. Louisiana, on the other hand, actually announced $57 billion in the same period of time. Now, I want to be clear that that does not include the canceled Shell project. $9 billion more than Texas. And to be clear, this is not on a per capita basis. This is an absolute comparison, meaning Louisiana, with 20% of the population of Texas, announced 20% more capital investment the entire state of Texas over the last 3 years on record. This is a good indication that we're on the cusp of something incredible. But as exciting as our state's emerging industrial boom is, I want us to imagine for a few minutes this morning what it would look like for our state to continue outperforming the nation over the years ahead. Since January 2008, our private sector job growth ranks 2nd best in the South and 4th best in America. What if we could sustain that position in the future when our nation is growing again? If we look back at the last few decades prior to the Great Recession, states like Georgia and Texas and North Carolina regularly grew at a rate of 2% per year or better. which for Louisiana would represent job growth of about 40,000 jobs per year or more on average. 40,000 jobs per year. That sounds like a pretty big number. Idealistic? LED Kool-Aid? Well, let's look back at history, specifically the 1970s oil boom. The second question, how many jobs per year on average did Louisiana create during the oil boom of the 1970s? All right, it looks like most people picked B. Well, the answer is D, 58,000 jobs. We averaged 58,000 jobs a year in that decade. If we could repeat that today, it would quickly change the face of our state. But as many of you remember, the economic sunshine of the 70s turned into the economic malaise of the 80s in Louisiana. As great as the oil boom was, the oil bust in the 80s was absolutely devastating. Should we really be praying for another oil boom? No, because we're already having one in deep water drilling, although it would be nice to get another shale gas boom. What we want to pray for now is sustained, diversified growth. And that's exactly what we're working toward. Not only are we working to grow our existing industrial base with leading companies like Exxon and Mobil expanding here, ExxonMobil and Dow expanding here, we're also cultivating new growth industries like digital media, software development, aerospace, and more value-added agribusiness projects. While our current environment is more of an industrial boom than it is an oil boom, we nevertheless need to remember lessons from our past and not become complacent. We need to aspire for and work towards sustained, diversified economic growth. Now, over the last few years at LED, we've done a lot of analysis and consulted many national experts, and we believe it's possible for Louisiana, with a lot of hard work and a little luck, to be able to grow at a rate of 40,000 jobs per year or better whenever our country as a whole is growing, and even after the industrial boom is leveled off. Now let's look at what that rate of growth would mean for our state in comparison to the growth that Moody's forecasts for the country overall in the coming years. At LED, we talk about 40,000 new jobs per year a great deal, but it's not a far-fetched goal. That would mean Louisiana would need to grow at about 2% per year. And again, Georgia, Texas, and North Carolina accomplished that consistently over a 30-year period of time. So there's no reason to think that we can't accomplish the same thing. But what does 40,000 jobs per year look like? What would 40,000 jobs per year mean for our state? All right, final question, playing for pride. If Louisiana adds jobs at a rate of 2%, or about 40,000 jobs per year in the near future, what would our state's population look like in 2040? The results look like it was almost a tie between 8 million and 10 million. Well, the answer is C. We go from 4.6 million residents today to 8 million in 2040, nearly double our current population. Now, to fully appreciate what this would mean for the future and for the future of our children, let's look at this forecast for the future, what it would mean for Louisiana. What would our future look like if we were able to consistently hit our 40,000 job target? What if the next few governors and the business community continue to make economic development the top priority over the next 30 years? How would it change the face of our state? Well, let's dream a little bit together. 40,000 jobs per year annually would mean more opportunities for Louisiana citizens to achieve the American dream right here at home in Louisiana. We would hit 2 million jobs in Louisiana for the first time by 2015. By 2018, our state's population would hit 5 million people for the first time. Now let's talk about national rankings. Prior to 2008, Louisiana's all-time high national ranking in the Forbes Best States for Business was number 49 out of 50 states. We ranked 49th out of 50th every year prior to 2008. Now, since then, we've moved up about 10 spots. You may not realize that a large portion of the methodology for that ranking is based on growth, past growth and expected future growth. Accordingly, if we can hit these growth targets, then by 2019, our Forbes Business Climate ranking would move up to approximately number 9 in the country. That would mean an improvement of 40 spots in just over a decade. It would be remarkable. As a result of that growth, after the 2020 census, with more Louisiana expats moving home and less people leaving our state in search of better opportunities, we would regain some of the voice we lost in Washington, D.C., as we would pick up the congressional seat we lost after Hurricane Katrina. Closer to home here in Baton Rouge, 40,000 new jobs per year statewide would mean that the Baton Rouge area's population would reach 1 million people for the first time by approximately the year 2023, meaning new ideas, new residential developments, huge increases in retail sales and banking, substantially more direct flights and direct flight cities at Baton Rouge Metro Airport, as well as a big increase in cultural and recreational amenities. Our state population by 2026 would reach 6 million, with almost 1 million of that represented by new residents who would have moved to Louisiana to pursue job opportunities since 2014. This means new friends and neighbors, and in some cases, family members, moving here from all over the country and all over the world. After the 2030 census, increased migration and population growth would enable us to capture back another congressional seat, the one we lost after the oil bust in the 1980s. By 2034, our population total would reach 7 million people. Almost 2 million of that would be people who moved to Louisiana to pursue job opportunities here, because at 40,000 jobs per year, we would be growing faster than the natural growth rate of our population. We would have become one of the great growth states of the South and the country. Now, I think it's roughly by that year I would expect for Mississippi to ask to be annexed to Louisiana, and possibly Arkansas and Alabama not far behind. Also by the same year, our momentum will feel like a huge snowball as our job total hits the 3 million mark for the first time in our history. How about poverty? How about the people among us who struggle? Well, a good job is the best anti-poverty measure that I know of. By approximately 2037, our poverty rate would drop below the Southern average for the first time since the U.S. started recording poverty statistics more than 5 decades ago. And believe it or not, after the 2040 census, we would gain a 3rd congressional seat, giving us an all-time high of 9 congressional House members. Louisiana's voice would be heard loudly and clearly in Washington. So you might be thinking, oh, that's pretty exciting, but how do we get there? Well, obviously, there are a lot of things that we need to do, a lot of things that we need to continue to do, but I want to emphasize just 5 of them this morning. First, we need to make strategic investments in higher education in order to produce the graduates we need to drive our job growth. And there's 5 key areas of focus that will be most important. At the 4-year level, engineering, all disciplines, computer science, finance, and accounting. At the community and technical college level, industrial craft trades and manufacturing operations need to grow exponentially. Governor Jindal recently announced the Workforce Innovation for a Stronger Economy, or WISE Fund, which is designed to directly address this key priority. Second, we need to continue to cultivate new growth industries like software development, aerospace, automotive, water management. IBM won't be the last software center that we announce in Louisiana. In fact, we're going to announce a few more around our state later this year. Nor will Bell Helicopter's new aircraft manufacturing facility be the last major aerospace project we will announce. We are just getting started. Third, we need to work to aggressively implement our new master plan for international commerce, as it has the potential to produce 15,000 jobs per year just from that initiative. In particular, we need to pursue investment from the countries that are most likely to consider investing in the United States over the years ahead, which includes South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Germany, Canada, the UK, and India. As you're probably aware, Governor Jindal and I recently visited with top potential investors in Asia, and I expect we'll have some good news to share on that front in the months ahead. Fourth, we need to identify and cultivate more development-ready sites. It might surprise you to learn that one of our top challenges today is a lack of identified sites. We literally have more companies interested in investing in Louisiana than we have identified sites available quickly enough to meet their needs. We need more river sites, more sites with rail, more Class A office space, more airport sites, and more sites with highway access. BRAC has made great progress on this already. We're partnering with them and other economic development groups around our state to cultivate more attractive sites for development. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, we need to continue to prioritize our proactive efforts to support the retention and growth of our existing business and industry in Louisiana, just as we've done for the last 6 years since we first created the Business Expansion and Retention Group, the first time in state history. Is 40,000 jobs per year an audacious goal? Some might say so, but I don't think so. Bold? Yes. But nothing truly worth achieving, worth sacrificing for, is small or incremental. We can do this, and I believe we will do this. We are just scratching the surface of what is possible. Now is the time to double down on growth. Now is the time to double down on economic development. Now is the time to start messing with Texas. This is our time to make possibility reality. Today I talked about what's possible for the future of our state. I talked about what we could achieve if we were willing to dream big enough and work hard enough to get there. And essentially my core message was about growth. It was about positioning Louisiana to continue our economic outperformance when the nation is growing again. And I laid out what that would mean for our state in the future if we could achieve that.
And what are some of those possibilities?
More population immigration, improved national rankings, reduced poverty, improved image of Louisiana nationally. If we can continue to outperform the country in the South when our nation is growing again, the sky's the limit for our state.
And you mentioned the possibility of 9 congressmen by the year 2040.
That's correct. The congressional seats are apportioned after every census. Louisiana, because it underperformed for many decades, it actually lost a couple seats. We lost one after the 80s oil bust. We lost another one after Hurricane Katrina. But the pace that we're on now, if we're able to sustain this pace going forward, we would get back the congressional seat we lost after Katrina, after the 2020 census. We'd get back the congressional seat we lost after the 80s oil bust, after the 2030 census, and we would get a new all-time high 9th congressional House seat after the 2040 census if we can continue to be one of the fastest growing states in the country through that period of time.
How does Louisiana compare to Texas in terms of job growth and investment?
Well, Texas is our top competitor in the South. In terms of capital investment, we've done about 20% better than Texas over the last 3 years. In terms of private sector job growth, we're second best in the South, 4th best in the country since January 2008, second only to Texas, but we're doing better than almost everybody else.
Short term, what's the outlook for 2014? The
outlook for this year is fantastic. We're going to have a lot of major manufacturing projects that are going to break ground this year, from Lake Charles to Baton Rouge to North Louisiana. We're going to see a significant number of software development projects, both existing projects that were previously announced like IBM continue to ramp up, like that one in downtown Baton Rouge, but we're also going to be announcing a variety of other new projects around the state, new software centers, new manufacturing facilities, new corporate headquarters relocations to Louisiana. It's going to be an exciting year for the Louisiana economy.
The best times are ahead for Baton Rouge and our state, and I think that with LSU growing and getting some of the funding that it needs, with the industrial sector, that's on fire, real estate's on its way back, the best times are ahead for Baton Rouge.